MacGyver, right?
It's kind of funny. I'm gonna just give this one here to you.
Hey.
And then we'll pass
Do you want to hold on to that one?
So both of these are for the...
Well, no, I'm not gonna hold on to it. Like, we're
Okay.
So we hold it like this.
that we're in the following track of the conference. We just happen to be broadcasting our conversation.
All right.
So I'll kick us off. We'll only go for about a half hour because we have to do the speaker picture. Yeah, so it should be fun.
Yeah, that's good.
We're gonna wait for this.
Feels.
I feel like I'm walking a grocery, like
Actually, looks a little bit more like a makeshift phone.
Yeah, it really does.
critique is MacGyver over there.
JavaScript type bomb. Love it.
Oh, whoops, that was mine.
Oh. We'll just
Still
keep,
got
I guess.
Yeah.
That's cool. Live streaming.
All right, I think it's actually live right now. Are we live?
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. You gotta really get up on there.
All right. Ready to go?
I had the same thing with my phone.
All right. Hello, everyone. We are actually streaming live. This is JavaScript Air. Feel free
Hi.
to continue to chat if you don't care, but JavaScript is a cool thing, and we're here to talk about it. JavaScript in the web platform. So if you're not familiar with JavaScript Air, it's a live broadcast podcast, and we do shows every week for the next couple weeks. And so, yeah, we're here on site at Connect.tech in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm joined by a couple awesome speakers. We'll get a chance to introduce everybody here in a second. But I'd like to give a shout out to a couple sponsors just really quick. Egghead.io is our premier sponsor. They have training videos and they're super cool. Front End Masters is another sponsor and they're super awesome for training as well. And Track.js is, thank you. Track.js is super cool too. They will track your JavaScript errors, so check them out. And yeah, those are our platinum and silver sponsors. So yeah, for the next like half hour, we're just going to be chatting about what this conference is all about. So let's go ahead and get an intro to the people we have on the panel. So my name is Kent C. Dodds. I work for PayPal, and we're hiring, and it's awesome. So yeah, that's me. Why don't we get an intro to everybody else?
Hey, my name is Stephanie Brubaker. I'm a former Google developer. I now work at a startup called Full Story here in the big ATL. And we are also hiring. I'm sure we're just as famous as PayPal, pretty much. But if you want to work in a smaller shop, we're a great employer.
Yeah, Full Story is really cool, by the way. It's basically a DVR for your website, or as I called it to somebody on the marketing team one time, a reality show for your website. It's really freaking cool. My name is Tim Dorr. I'm a CTO over at a company called Showcase IDX in the real estate technology area. We do real estate search for realtor websites. I've been around in the startup community in town for a while. Worked with Full Story a little bit early on at my previous company, SalesLoft, which I see some guys from the company out in the audience. And I work primarily in the open source world on React Router and Redux. I'm kind of maintaining that now. And we're doing major releases of pretty much all of those things very soon. So I have a very long notification list on GitHub right now. But yeah, that's my story.
I have this microphone.
Yeah, our bomb microphones,
yeah, right.
apparently.
They're great. So I'm Brian. I'm a regular panelist on JS Air for the next couple weeks.
Hello, my name is Ben Alekbadu. I'm from the Bay Area, work at Eventbrite. I am I guess a former senior UI engineer. I just got promoted to be a manager of my front-end platform team, so now I'm in management, I guess, but I still do code about 40% of the time, so I'm calling myself both engineer and manager. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So all of us have one thing in common. Well, we probably have several things in common, but in particular, we are all speakers here at the conference. And so, why don't we just like talk about really quickly what we are each here talking about or workshopping about. Since I'm holding the mic, I'll go first. I gave a workshop yesterday about ES6. Well, it's more like ES next things, including ES 2016 and 2017. And all that stuff can be found online. I even did a recording. And then today I'm doing a talk on testing React, which is kind of fun.
So I've been a full stack developer for a long time. I've worked with a lot of designers. I've had the privilege of working with the same designer that I worked with at Google for about 6 or 7 years now, because he came with us to Full Story. So we're actually co-presenting a talk about bridging the designer-developer gap, about just finding ways to work together very tightly and to use a very iterative process to actually come up with the best product that you can conceive of. And it's right after lunch, so if anybody wants to come, please come to room 103.
That sounds cool. I heard a lot of stuff out of CSS Conf about that kind of thing, like bridging the gap with a lot of the CSS that's happening and what it takes to get there. Because there's kind of a gulf right now. You know, people want to hold fast to their existing tool sets of CSS that's just native CSS, and all this new stuff that's happening that tightly integrates with all the apps that we're building that are super complex and would benefit from having a better coupling, and just how do we do that? So a lot of stuff, that's like I'll definitely be there. I'm talking tomorrow morning at 10:20 in room C about React Router 4, which is our upcoming giant middle finger to the entire JavaScript community, apparently, based purely on my Twitter feed. I'm pretty nervous about that talk, mainly because I don't want to get tomatoes thrown at me. But hopefully it'll go well. I assure you there are plenty of funny GIFs throughout the entire thing and lots of humorous puns and whatnot. So it can be entertaining on that level at the very least. And yeah, we'll be going over what is a router, how does that work, and then what do we do differently for React Router 4, where we've rewritten the whole thing. Or I should say, more accurately, Ryan, Florence, and Michael Jackson have rewritten the whole thing. I just came along for the ride. And what the implications of that are. So it should be pretty interesting. It's an exciting future for that library. So looking forward to kind of getting some knowledge out about that.
Monads.
That was terrifying. It is October, so fitting. Actually, sorry. So, actually, last year, 2 days after Halloween, I was like, "Oh snap! I totally missed it. Like the scariest costume I could have had for Halloween was to be a monad." or a burrito, I guess. Yeah.
How many people do you think would have understood the monad joke? Like 2 on your block?
Yeah, that might be a little tough to pull off. But.
Yeah, so I was smart and decided to do 2 talks today.
Yeah.
Right? So I had one that I just finished 15 minutes ago. So if my eyes are a little sleepy, that's why. It was about navigating the React ecosystem, but I called it the solar system because they're all revolving around React. So kind of just showed off. Yeah, you see what I did there? So they're just kind of talking about what's all there, what are the options, how do they work, why you would need them, when you should learn them, basically. So I gave a shout out to React Router and to come to your talk tomorrow. Gave a shout out to testing, so they should come later today for that. And then gave a huge shout out to React Create App for what it can do and how it makes life a whole lot better. And then later this evening, I'm talking about building isomorphic JavaScript when you don't have a node backend. So at Eventbrite, we're Python Django. How do we actually render server-side when we have Python Django? So I don't want to spoil the surprise of how we did it, but come to the talk and then you'll find out.
Yeah, now you got me totally interested. That sounds really interesting. Yeah. So actually, I wanted to ask you about that navigating the solar system a little bit. So what is it about React? I don't feel like there's the same kind of feeling in any other like framework out there, like Ember and Angular. It's not so nebulous as React. So what about React makes it so like makes it so that you even have something to talk about when talking about solar system?
Yeah, so with Angular and Ember, Nicholas Zachas called those walled gardens. They give you everything you need. They give you Ajax, they give you data, everything you need to do to build an app. If it's provided there, you can't get out of that, which is why people kind of had pushback with that. They were like, we want micro libraries, we want something small so I can piece together what I want to be able to do. And then React is kind of one of those micro libraries. So it does one thing, it does something really, really well, but then now you have to figure out, okay, how do I do Ajax? How do I manage my state? How do I actually build my app and compile it and stuff like that? So kind of because it does one thing well and you have to put all these things together, that's kind of the world we're in. I don't mind it because I like learning all those things, but having something like React Create App kind of is the bridge between the two, which is really nice.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably the biggest difference between something like Ember and Angular 1 or 2 is, when you plug into those ecosystems, there's a defined API for how you plug in.
Exactly.
Whereas React, there is more of a set of patterns.
Right.
It's not necessarily that you
Suggestions.
have to, you do, in some cases, have to call certain things, but more about getting things built the right way.
Yep.
And that's actually kind of, as a preview to my 4.0 talk, or React Router 4.0 talk, like that's kind of what we have been trying to do with 4.0 is embrace the patterns rather than the APIs.
Okay.
Because one of the big things that kind of precipitated us even trying React Router 4 was the fact that in React Router 2 and hopefully 3.0 this weekend at some point, we basically, like, when you configure your route, passing some JSON objects, like the route component doesn't render, which is like a core fundamental thing of like React.
Yeah.
When you build a component, it has a render function that does something. You can return null, but it's got to do something.
Right.
Ours produces a warning message, which is not right. So the idea was like, okay, well, what if route could render? What would how would that work? And it eventually ballooned into this whole thing of like embracing the entire declarative style that React fosters through just its structure and patterns and things like that. Not a hard-written API that you have to follow.
Okay.
The hardest API that exists in there is the lifecycle methods that you have to call. But even then, it's less about like writing the code that runs within those particular bounds. It's more about like how do those things interact? How do those things occur? When do you do build up and tear down? And how do you make things so they are super declarative?
Gotcha.
Ryan Florence actually gave a really good talk about this at React Rally. Brian was just mentioning this to me, remind me about it, where he basically took a bunch of imperative stuff that was shoved into React and ripped it all apart so it became more declarative code, and took out things like time and internal to a function state, and brought it more to the point where this thing happens when this this is the current state of this component, kind of stuff, rather than hit this button, do these things. So I definitely would recommend checking that out.
Yeah, so I know you can describe some people as commitment phobic. I would say I'm framework phobic. So I was talking to Kent last night at dinner, and I said, we just TypeScript is as much structure as I want, and we essentially build all of our components from scratch. We actually built our own internal framework for writing out HTML and binding to the DOM. And so I said to Kent, sell me on React. Why would I want to use this? And actually, you inspired me to go to the Intro to React talk this morning to just get a little more info. Why would I want to use this? And what I liked about it is that I feel like a lot of frameworks try to do too much, and I want control, and I want to be able to get down to the bare metal, do the exact thing I want. Don't put me on too many rails. And so it felt like React is close enough to native code that it's very natural, and you have a lot of control, but it's also restricted to doing one aspect, the view, very, very well. And so interact with the view in a nice programmatic way, but then the model and everything else around it I can control. And so that actually felt very freeing, because I was like, oh yeah, this is fine. I don't mind plugging in this piece of my system. I just don't want you to take over everything.
So that's something that I love about it as well. I'm kind of the type of person who likes to like have control, but I know that there are like a lot of people who feel differently, and that's why I think that it's awesome that we have a like a bazaar of frameworks that we can choose from. Like that's kind of misusing that analogy, but like just having this buffet of different options so that we all can like identify the thing that that works best with the way that we think about building applications, and then use that. So like I'm not an Angular 2 developer or an Ember developer. Like that's not the way that I think about building applications. I like the React way, but I'm glad that those things exist for the people who do think in that way. I think that's an important distinction, and something that I think in like the last year or two we've started coming to that conclusion that okay, like this framework war stuff like doesn't even make sense because we're all different, and so it makes sense that there would be different solutions.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I like the control, but when I was first starting out, I didn't know what to pick. Should I pick Webpack? Should I pick Rollup? What should I do? And without something that will create it for me, I had to kind of learn what I should pick before I knew what it should do. And I'm the kind of person where it's like, I want to know everything that I'm putting into what I'm doing. I don't want to just make random decisions. So I'll just kind of like, what's the phrase where I couldn't make a decision before I could actually do it. So kind of having analysis paralysis. That's exactly it. That's what I had. So at least having something like Create React App that'll do it first, then I can actually learn React and get that good at that. Then I can see, oh, what's this Webpack thing about? What's other parts about as well? What's this ESLint thing? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned that in your talk you talk about like when you learn things, because there's so much to learn, right? So I want to go back and look at that talk. There's a resource from Pete Hunt called React How To that like shows here are the things about the React ecosystem, and this is the order you learn them, and you don't skip anything. You just learn it in this order. And I think that lots of the principles that he's illustrating there apply like across everything, not just React, not just like software development, but like in your entire life. Like you learn things as you need to. Like there are too many things in the world to learn to like be sane. Like if you just started thinking, oh my goodness, I have to learn this, that, and the other, and like it's an analysis paralysis kind of thing. And so like the idea is you learn things when you need to, not before. And that like so like do you implement Redux right at the start of your application, right at the start of your learning? No, like you need to figure out why does Redux exist before you start using that size of an abstraction. Just as an example, and I think that same kind of concept applies throughout a lot of different things. So let's talk a little bit more about like the conference. So we're here in Atlanta. What are some of the things about this conference that are special to you all?
Well, I think one thing that's really stands out to me is that the conference is 11 tracks. 11. It's like 75% JavaScript. Like, how much JavaScript? Like, that's amazing that you can have a whole conference that's that big just about JavaScript. So before, last year it was Connect.js, and now they've taken it to Connect.tech because they have mobile and they have PHP as well, I think. So they kind of broaden it out, but just the sheer size of this is really amazing. And then the fact that there's a React.js track I could just park my laptop on a desk in there and just sit there and just get learned on about React, which is great.
Yeah, it's definitely massive. there's there's a lot of different languages. I wanted to ask you about Go again, but yeah, you'd think that this JavaScript is kind of the central theme of every developer, so they can watch a talk on JavaScript and all enjoy it. So I like that it's central, but you get to dip into whatever specialty that you'd like, and I think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of emblematic of like what's going on in the general development community as more and more people are getting into this entire world. A lot of people are finding their start is in JavaScript because if you have a web browser open, you are literally 3 keys away from a JavaScript console at any point in time. So you can start coding right away with just pressing 3 keys. So the barrier to entry has been lowered significantly in the past decade. And as this conference has grown, they've the name's changed from Connect.js to Connect.tech now to indicate a wider breadth and of knowledge throughout it. But it still has that like JavaScript core. It is again kind of emblematic of where a lot of people start and begin. But it's a good place to come and kind of branch out and go maybe look at the PHP track and go look at like a specific library that you aren't using yet. So like you're a React guy, go look at the Angular track. You're an Ember gal, you go look at the React track or whatever. So there's a lot of opportunities to kind of cross-pollinate your skill set here and really branch out and just dip your toe in the water on some stuff. And I think that's great because that's good for anybody, regardless of skill level. So.
Yeah, to kind of echo that sentiment, I work at a startup, I'm very heads down. I write a lot of code all day. And it all looks pretty similar. So being able to come and kind of check out a bunch of technologies that I just don't use day to day and don't really have time sometimes to explore is really, really nice. And I think it's great that take on making foundational conference here so much time in the Southeast. We're limited in terms of access to bring together and actually ideas, connections, and so it's really, really nice to get together here in ATL and actually exchange ideas.
Cool. So I'm kind of curious what you all think about some things that this conference has really done right. Like let's just pretend for a moment that there's somebody here listening who wants to organize a conference. What are some of the things that this conference has done really well that should be emulated by other conferences?
Well, I can say they really take care of their speakers. I have like an apartment.
Yeah, it's been super nice. And Patrick I'm really, really impressed by Patrick. It's something comes up and he just handles it, and you can't tell whether he's stressed or not. Like he's just an upbeat, happy person.
Yeah. Well, he's a seasoned speaker himself, so but I also just attended like 15 minutes ago because I was practicing my talk in my hotel, so I don't really have much to say yet. We'll circle back.
Something that's always underrated at conferences are the speaker badges, right? So the speaker badges are nice, and like your name is clear and such, so I can actually look at somebody and say, oh, okay, hi Stephanie, like I actually know you because I could just say your name, right? So the speaker badges, and they have the barcodes of the sponsor booths, we're scanning them so I could automatically be in raffles and stuff like that, like they have to write stuff down. Amazing.
Sign up for raffles.
Yeah.
Like $300 the other week.
And I think they also make a big effort to have a wide variety of talks. I mean, there are, really basic beginner talks, specialized case studies. So there's something for everyone. I mean, I know people here who are just getting into web development and to see the spectrum of what's out there and kind of make some career choices based on it. And there are a lot of seasoned folks who just like exploring, the higher level stuff. So.
Yeah, actually, on that, I think I find over and over again that things are more interesting when there are multiple perspectives. Like that's one of the things I try really hard to do with JavaScript Air is I try to make sure that more than just one perspective is being represented on the show. And I think that's one of the things that like makes it really interesting and relatable by a lot of different people. And I feel like I totally agree. Like this conference, like it's enormous. And if somebody is going to start a new conference, I probably wouldn't recommend doing something this big. But like with what you are able to do, try to make it like as diverse as the niche that you're going for. So like it's okay to make a React conference or an Angular conference, but make the content and the speakers that you're having come from different walks of life and different kind of backgrounds, different topics, and I think it'll make for a better conference. And they've done that here, I think. So cool. So for the last couple minutes, I think a lot of people who come to conferences, myself included when I got started, look at speakers and think, oh man, I'd really like to go do that one day. So what are some of the tips that you could give to people who are interested in getting involved in speaking at conferences?
So I think the first thing to realize, and I'll say this especially as a woman in computing, because there's like an extra mental barrier there, I think, is that speakers don't have special superpowers. Anointed to literally anyone who's an expert in something and has something that they can get up and apply to the talk. So, you know, if there's something send it to another conference. Conferences like this. So it's important to have your voice heard because there are so many great. You really need to be experiencing as many as possible.
And the thing is, you don't even have to be an expert. You just have to have experience. Like, I went through this and it didn't go well, or this part went well. It's like a great talk for somebody. You know, if you already know what it is, just seeing that experience is really great. And kind of, what you said, like the speakers aren't anointed. That's perfect because I used to think, oh, all of the speakers got selected. They already were in the circuit, so there's no way for me to get in. I didn't even know about CFPs or call for proposals. Like even that fact that anybody can submit is something that people should know. And just like once you realize that that's the process, it feels like it's not so big of a barrier of entry just to get in there. So just have something that you're passionate about, that you've experienced, and if you're passionate about it and you can communicate that in a presentation, like you'll do very well.
Yeah, I mean, the people that are speaking here are not like all chosen by some secret cabal in the back room of some conference center. It's at least for this one, it's entirely based on calls for presentations or proposals, or whatever. So anyone can do it, and there's kind of a single baseline for everyone. Everyone's on the same page when they're chosen, because it's just what is the talk, and then it's that interesting. Okay, and let's vet and make sure this person actually does have some experience with it, so they can have good content. And it's not just going like, well, I just read the README like a couple days ago, so I think I can talk about it. But, well, they don't need to be like programming god who like knows everything and fully understands what a monad is, which hopefully more people will know after your talk. Yeah, it's not some like magical like black box process that involves backroom deals. It's a lot of them are there's some of that to get like big names in. So like I went to RailsConf in 2015, and Aaron Patterson and David Hennessy talked there. Who are DHH created Rails, and Aaron Patterson was huge in that community. So obviously they got them, but there was a whole slew of other talks from people that I didn't know, but had great content to provide nonetheless. So it's usually a mix of that stuff, but you can be up there with those people who are the untouchable gods of the various communities of coding that you're involved in. There really is no like. It's not like they're gonna put like one podium higher up, like so it's like Olympic podium style. Like okay, you can only talk at level 3. You haven't worked your way up to the level 2 podium that includes the extra lighting and loud speakers and stuff like that. Everyone's, yeah. When you're done, fireworks come out. It's all the same for everyone. So.
Don't live code.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, don't live code unless you've done it a bunch of times, and even then, don't live code.
Yeah, on that, my talk at 2:30 will be pretty much just live coding. But no, totally. If you are going to live code, like I've done the walk through this live coding like probably a dozen times. So yeah, you do need to be prepared if you're going to live code, and you have to be able to like it's. I find that talks that are like, here's how you use this API are not very exciting or interesting or inspiring. So like if whatever it is that you do, like your goal should be to entertain and to inspire and inform. And I think those are the best talks. So however you accomplish that, whether it's live coding is probably a little harder to do that. It's easier to slip into the this is how you use this API kind of talk with live coding. But yeah, whatever it is that you do, like I think those are the most interesting talks to me. Actually, Ben Orenstein gave a talk at RailsConf like a year or two ago, called "How to Talk to Developers." Like amazing talk. I have rewatched it several times, and it really changed the way that I think about talking to at conferences. And his thesis for his talk is basically. It's more important to be entertaining than informative. So if you can be both, that's great. But at a conference, I think entertainment is kind of like paramount. Both is really important, though.
Just look at the presidential debates, and you'll understand that entertainment.
That throws a third one in there, memorable, and but not for good reasons. So, awesome. Yeah, thank you. So I think. We are running out of time, so let's just wrap up, and I'm going to give you each just a second to give a shout out to whatever you want. Normally we do like tips and picks at the end of the show. We don't have time for that. And so I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to our silver sponsors, Hired.com, where they bring job offers to you. I'm not sure what the tagline is anymore, but it's a good one. Go check it out. And then React.js program helps you learn the React ecosystem, so check them out too.
Well, I can't help but say that my pick is my own company for very selfish reasons, but also for altruistic reasons. I don't know how I ever wrote code without the story. I don't know how I ever found bugs in my code and usability issues without the story. So if you have a moment, go ahead and check it out. fullstory.com.
Yeah, I'll echo that because mine's real estate technology, and nobody here is a realtor. It basically you drop some JavaScript code on a page, and then you basically get like recorded sessions of everything that happened on there. So all the HTML, CSS, and stuff gets basically copied, and all of the manipulations that happen get shown to you, and you can watch in excruciating detail as somebody misuses your application, but learn like why that stuff does or does not work. It's amazing that it works at all. They have a lot of smart cookies on that team, Stephanie included. And then, I don't know, I guess my talk tomorrow, please come see it. It's at 10:20. And if you're not here at Connect.tech, definitely go to Connect.tech and check out this conference. I will assume they will do it next year, and it will be similarly awesome, if not more. So that's my pick, is this.
Shout out to all of the people that are about to submit their first CFP.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, so I'll give a shout out to my talk that's later this evening, like I mentioned, but also want to shout out Eventbrite, my company as well. They're super supportive of me going out to speak and give me the time off to speak, which is key in being a speaker. I'll also say that we're more than just an events and ticketing company. We're also an engineering company, so we're kind of beginning our foray into open source. We don't have the people to maintain huge frameworks yet, but what we're contributing is kind of our ideas and our patterns and our best practices and our guidelines. So if you go to our GitHub, Eventbrite's GitHub/JavaScript, we have a lot of documentation on how we go about writing JavaScript in ES5, how we go about writing Backbone in Marinette, React testing, and stuff like that. So check that out. That's my tip.
And that's it for us. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all later.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.